to you.
Yeah. Cool. How come mine says Tom Wheeler, me, in lowercase, like yours has a capital L, Vanessa has a capital V, Karen's K? How do you change that? You know?
It might be on your settings when you created your WebEx account.
Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to our regular meeting of the Madera County Board of Supervisors. Today is Tuesday, March 9th, 2021, and I'll ask for a roll call right now.
Supervisor Frazier,
Here.
Supervisor Gonzalez,
Here.
Supervisor Rogers,
Here.
Supervisor Wheeler,
Here.
Chairman Poitras.
Yes, looks like everybody's
Here.
can hear and communicate, so that's a really good thing. Are there any additions to the agenda?
There are no additions.
Thank you. Before we ask for public comment, I'll ask our council to announce the items for closed session.
Thank you, Chairman. Under Government Code Section 54957.6, you have a conference with your labor negotiator. Your designated representative is Director Alba Gomez, and the employee organization is all units. You also have real property negotiators with your agency negotiator, CAO Jay Varney. Under negotiations are the price, terms of payment for the purchase, exchange, or lease of property, and that property is at 40601 Road 274 in Bass Lake. The APN number is also listed on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. And are there any comments from the public regarding these closed session items? Seeing none, we shall adjourn to closed session. Thank you.
Hello?
Hey, Tom.
How you doing, buddy?
All right. Are you after I call my
Mike's alive.
Yeah, it's just getting ready to
Mike's
start right now.
I got an appointment, I guess.
Supervisor Wheeler, you're not muted.
1 second.
Mics are live.
Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to a regular meeting of the Madera County Board of Supervisors. Today is Tuesday, March 9th, 2021. What we will start with is opening and closing in memory of individuals, and I believe that Supervisor Wheeler, you have somebody you'd like to recognize. Oh, I'm sorry. Why don't we go ahead and start with our roll call just to make sure everybody's on board.
Supervisor Frazier,
Here.
Supervisor Gonzalez,
Here.
Supervisor Rogers,
Here.
Supervisor Wheeler,
Yes, here.
Chairman Poitras.
Yes. All right, very good. Supervisor Wheeler.
Yes, I have one, Robert Lapsley Sr. He lived in Norfolk for a lot of years and worked over at the mill, and then they shut down. And he was a cowboy, a backpacker. He did everything, and he moved to Auberry a few years ago, and he passed away this last week or two. So I just want to honor him. He was well liked, and everybody, his whole family's got, I think, 2 boys and a girl, and there's a lot of grandkids and stuff still around, all around up here. So Lapsley tree business up here is some of his relatives. So great guy. He's just a funny sucker. So he'll keep God happy up there. So,
Very good.
You know, was one of his sons Derek? Derek
it
last
could
name?
have been. I'm trying to think what the heck their name was. I got the obituary. I could dig it out. I'll look it up and see.
I mean, no. I'm friends with.
Lapsley?
Yeah.
Yeah. It could be
Okay.
then.
Anybody else? If not, Council Garza, can you report out of closed session any actions that were taken?
Yes, Chairman, there are no reportable actions from your closed session.
Okay, very good. Thank you. We'll now move into the invocation and pledge of allegiance. And we have Pastor James Kendall of Grace Community Church to lead us in the invocation. And I'd like to ask Tracy Contreras to lead us in the pledge of allegiance after that. Thank you.
Let's pray. Father God, how blessed we are, Lord, just with the gift of life and the good things you give us, Lord, to live in this great country. Father, with all the blessings we have, Lord. And may we never forget those who are less fortunate, Lord, those that are going hungry today, whether here or around the world, Lord, those that are sick, those that are in the hospital, Lord, those that are struggling with emotional or family or work or whatever kind of troubles, Lord. We ask for them that you would work in their lives. And we ask for our supervisors today, Father, that you would give them wisdom. Wisdom as they decide how to lead, Lord, that you would show them the way. Lord, that you would give them your wisdom to know how to lead our county. Lord, we thank you for them, for the many hours of service that they put in each week. Take care of us, Lord, to protect us and to guide us and give us leadership, Lord. We just thank you for that. And we thank you for today. In the name of your son, Jesus, we pray.
Ready? Salute. I pledge allegiance.
His allegiance to the flag
States of America, to the republic,
of the
one nation, God.
American, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor, and thank you, Tracy. We'll move into public comment. Just as a reminder, the first 15 minutes of each regular session are set aside for members of the public to address the board on any matter under the jurisdiction of the board, but not appearing on the agenda. The board will not take action on any items presented under public comment. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Anyone addressing the board is asked to print their name clearly on the speaker sheet at the podium and state their name and county of residence for the record. And it looks like we have a customer here.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Jared Carter, Madera County Public Works. Just want to take a quick second to give you an update on a couple of things in this public works world. We are out to bid for our liner expansion at the Fairmead landfill. So that is a capital project that you guys have heard about in the past on our updates with solid waste. We're excited to get that going and hopefully have that under construction here within the next couple months. We also will be starting our first of several outreach meetings related to our SB 1383 implementation. We're going to be doing virtual meetings. The first one will be this Wednesday evening. And lastly, happy to report that we do have a driller on site in MD 33 out in Fairmead. So that project is moving along and hopefully have some water pumping out of the ground very shortly here into their system before the summer for sure. So that's all I had. Thank you.
Well, very
Great.
good. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for the good news. Thank you. Are there any other comments from the public?
I do have.
Yes,
Should
Supervisor.
I go to the podium? 'Cause
Go ahead.
okay, thank
yeah.
you. Thank you for giving me leave on that. I wanted to remind everyone of an event that occurred annually and has for a number of years. I believe it's in the near hundreds of years. It's the Stampede in Chowchilla, and the event is not going to take place this year for the first time in many, many years. And it's one of the rarest events in the United States because the only other one that took place in the world was in Calgary, Canada recently. And that event has ended. And it's something that reminds us of our heritage, the heritage of the West, the Roundup, the time of rodeo, and recognizing that Old West flavor that permeates, especially the Chowchilla area. It really seems to come alive during that time. And it's sad to see that it's not going to occur this year. I don't believe the event will die, but I do believe it's imperiled at this point. And just want to keep that reminder before us of the importance of that history and what it means to those communities.
All right, very good. Thank you. Are there any other comments from the public? If not, let us move into the consent calendar, and we have one item that we will pull for special recognition, and that would be item 5C. Are there any other items?
Yeah,
On item D, I just want to talk to Maria about it. We have talked already, but I'd like to talk a little bit more about it.
Okay. And Supervisor Frazier.
and then I'll let him ask the questions of Maria, and then just item K.
Okay, all right. Very good. Let's move in then to item 5C. That would be the proclamation recognizing March 2021 as Women's History Month.
Hi, Mr. Chairman, if I may say a few words. We wanted to make sure that we recognize, can you hear me? I hope so.
Yes.
That we recognize March as Women's History Month. We have a lot of individuals and organizations throughout Madera County that do tremendous work in our community. I wanted to highlight the ladies of Latinas Unidas, and I believe we have Lucy Salazar, the president of Latinas Unidas, present. And I do apologize because I don't have a copy of the proclamation. I'd have to read it on my phone. It's so small. But if we could present Lucy with the proclamation. I see Carla is at the podium. And if Lucy would like to share anything about the efforts that Latinas Unidas does around the county, we'd certainly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Supervisor Gonzalez, and thank you, Board Supervisors, for inviting us and thus accepting this award of proclamation in behalf of Latinas Unidas. Okay. I have been a member of Latinas Unidas. This year I'll have 20 years. Latinas has been in the community for over 30 years, and we strive to help the community, giving back to the community in education, also supporting some of the other agencies, and as well working with the community for maintaining our culture of Hispanic and Latin culture. And I thank you again this year. Even though with the COVID last year, we're still going to give our scholarships. We've still been able to give anywhere from 5 to 10 scholarships to Madera Unified School District of young ladies continuing their education. Unfortunately, last year we didn't do any fundraising, but this year we're hoping that we can pick up, that we invite the community. If we have any events, to please join us, because all proceeds go right back to the community. And I thank you again. And I have Elaine Garcia, she's our treasurer.
Thank you, Elaine.
Hi there.
Thank you, and thank you again.
Thank you
Nice
so much.
day. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you
Bye.
for all you
Right.
do.
Thank you. All right, appreciate it. Okay, moving on to item 5D, Supervisor Wheeler.
Yeah, thank you. And I wanted to thank Maria. She called me Friday after last Tuesday's meeting. We went over it all, and after we questioned it, the company actually lowered the price a little bit. So, but there's one thing I was looking at under electric stuff. They actually added 6,600, and then under the other, whatever it was, doggone it, I didn't write it down. It was they deducted 6,500, so it's about even. And I added it up, and I believe it still comes up to that 168,886. But they still have that travel in there, and that really bothers me that they put that travel in there like that. So Oh, I see. No, the 6,500 was for travel, 6,640, and it was $13,100. They lowered it on that particular item under security. That was under security, and the other one they raised it 6,600. So is that what you came up with, Maria?
Yes, Maria Castro, General Services. So we had initially asked Dewberry to reduce their price, and we were looking to hit a certain budget number. And then when they resubmitted, there were some discrepancies between their summary page and their actual subcontractor quotes. So when we've cleared all of that up, this is the correct version.
This is the correct amount?
Yeah, this is correct now. So we double and triple checked, so all the numbers are matched, and they're within the budget number that we had given them. So this is the correct version. Yes, there were some ones where one quote was lower than it should have been, and one was higher than it should have been. So when they cleared all that up, the 168,000 is the correct contract value.
Yeah. Well, what I didn't understand is that 168 was the same thing last week, but they lowered it about $6,000, and I thought that the total bid would be a little less, but it's not, though, huh?
So last week it was 174,000 on the agenda.
Oh, it was
Yeah, it was 174,000.
I missed that. See, I'm bad this time. Okay, I just and I added up everything, trying to figure it out. I probably overdone it myself, trying to figure it out. So, but and I like that they found those mistakes, and it all added up to the right amount. So that was the only concern I had last week. So yes. Thank you, girls.
Nope. And just on the travel expenses, just so you know, and the rest of the board members, they're charged as needed. So we budget for them, but they're not necessarily charged unless the travel is required. In the current climate, we're doing a lot of Zoom virtual meetings, so they may not expend all that. So for all three bids we received for this particular project, all of the security consultants were out of state. So we would have been paying travel fees regardless of which architect we selected. This one's actually, it worked out really great for us because this security consultant worked on jail phase 1 and the jail kitchen. So we get the benefit of they're already knowledgeable about the county, and then we won't expend travel unless they actually physically come to the county, which we're trying to limit anyways.
So that's a maximum amount, like you told me the other day, for the travel.
Right.
In case they have to come every time. Okay. Thank you so much.
Just to add to that, also the travel expenses are for the construction portion of the project. So because it is a 24-hour, 24/7 facility, detention facility, it is imperative that if there's a problems that arise during construction, that the security electronics engineer and consultant shows up when we need them. So, but the majority of it is for that construction period. It's about $4,000 that they added for that construction.
Okay, what's your name, Maritza?
Maritza Rodriguez, project manager. Sorry.
I couldn't tell with the mask on, so.
All right, thank you. And Supervisor Frazier?
Yes, on item K, more not so much a question, but just wanted to highlight that these two entities coming together for this agreement, I just want to thank both of them. There's some history, but I think this was just great in showing that you can come together for the betterment of the region and for the area as a whole. And I just really appreciate everyone coming to the table. And thank you to Matt Treber and Public Works and County Council for helping shepherd this through as just an example of what we can do when we put aside differences and just focus on good planning, good development, good regional shared resources. So I just think it's a great deal, and it was very quick too. It didn't take years
Thank you, Supervisor Frazier, Matt Trieber, Chief of Development Services. I certainly couldn't say it any better than that. It was a months-long process. Couldn't have gotten done without Dale Bacigalupi's leadership on the county council side of the shop and Regina's assistance there. And just from my standpoint, a big thank you to the entire Sumner Hill Homeowners Association, especially Kurt Zumwalt and Walt Whelan, and also the McCaffreys and Tony Oliva, their council too. We started weekly meetings every Tuesday commencing in late October, early November, and had those weekly meetings up until about 2 weeks ago when we got this wrapped up. So thank you to everybody involved on that.
Good job.
Yeah, one thing, can I ask something, Mr. Chairman?
Uh-huh.
Matt or Brett, that I know we talked, Matt last night. And I can't remember. That's really bad. Does this give Friel's property access to the river now? With that, I was looking at the map, and that Friel has that right of way down through that now.
Yes, Supervisor Wheeler, that is a big aspect of this project. So yes, the property that is held in the estate of Mr. Friel's does have access down to the portion of Tesoro Viejo. It's outlots C and D that are on the east side of the Sumner Hill. So that is how this agreement lays out the requirement that the McCaffreys and Tesoro would clear that road segment environmentally, construct it, and then that would provide that access rather than through the community, which is not permitted by a whole lot of history there. But this would grant that access down to outlots C and D for development.
Good. I think that's important for everybody. So get it all. You guys did a really great package deal here because it covers everybody. You can't thank them all enough for coming to that agreement. So.
Absolutely. All right. Very good. Thank you. Are there any comments from the public regarding the consent calendar items? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Chairman Poitras?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Very good. Thank you. Let's move on to discussion items, and the first item will be a report from our Public Health Department. Good morning.
There we go. Good morning. Can you hear me with my mask on?
What?
Happy to be here, Mr. Chair and Board. Sarah Boss, Public Health Director, with a COVID-19 update. Feels like I've been giving COVID-19 updates for at least a year. And so our case rate as of today is adjusted at 11.4. That is a little bit higher than it was last week. But it's good news that we're still adjusting down. Unadjusted is 12.2. But we do need to do some work to get that case rate lower. As a reminder, there are two ways to move forward. Either our case rate, our county positivity rate, and our health equity positivity rate are all in the red or lower. Or if both of our positivity rates are 4.9% or lower, that's in the orange, then we would be able to move into red, even if our case rate is higher. So our county positivity rate right now is in the orange, it's 4.1%, and our health equity positivity rate is in the red at 7.3. So our goal is to get positivity rates down and case rates down. And the way we do that is, of course, we're continue to be vigilant and not spreading COVID-19, and people need to get tested. So the recommendation is still the same, of course, if you've been exposed, if you have symptoms, but also if you're regularly out and about, it's good to get tested every 6 to 8 weeks. So our testing volume is 389 per 100,000. It's been sitting right around 400 or just under, which is good. That's above the state mean. but we could always do more, and that will help us move through the tiers. Public health staff, the department itself is growing and continues to grow. Many people have been asking me, well, now that vaccines are rolling out, it's slowing down, right? And that's exactly the opposite. We have added vaccination on top of contact tracing and testing, and vaccination is actually quite complicated, not just in terms of the vaccine, but how do we get out to important groups? And so our department is typically about 100 employees. We now have 157, and we still have identified at least 6 to 8 critical roles that we need to hire more staff or identify individuals that are appropriate. And it's the staffing that really requires more strategic thinking, planning, that higher level staffing that we have really the need to add more of those folks. We're very grateful for staff that have been deployed by the state. We actually have 38 staff that the state has deployed to Madera County for the purpose of helping with vaccination clinics. And that's through a staffing agency, SLS staffing. 22 of those people are clinical staff, which is great, and then 6 non-clinical support staff. So the expansion of our department and including more employees is really important for having a stable workforce. Like, we have really benefited from help from other county departments in stepping forward and helping at vaccination clinics and in other roles. It is difficult, though, to continue what is continuing to be a long-term response with staff that aren't dedicated to those full-time roles. So we have opted to bring staff on so that they can be fully dedicated and focused on the COVID response, and we're able to do that with expanded state funding. We just recently received the contract requirements for the most recent rollout of a significant size to public health, and we'll be bringing that to your board very soon. So turning to vaccination specifically, our county allocation has increased significantly over the last several weeks. So on the week of February 15th, we received 3,750, and this is allocation across all of Madera County, not just the public health, but all the vaccine providers. And the week of March 8th, this week, we're at 7,710. So it's a 106% increase, so basically double in the last 4 weeks. So that's good news. It appears that the statements of the governor to prioritize for farm workers, and then also the recent prioritization that was announced, will really benefit Madera County. And that is that they are basically taking the allocation, dividing it into 5 pieces, and then each of the Healthy Places Index quartiles by zip code across the state receive one of those, and then the lowest quartile receives the 5th slice of that pie. And Madera County has 3 zip codes in that lowest quartile, so we will be the recipient of more vaccination due to that prioritization for using a Healthy Places Index. We received Johnson & Johnson vaccine this week, which is great. We have an allocation for 1 week, and the next week we don't have any, and then it's going to start to come in on a more regular basis. And we allocated that out to basically all of our vaccine providers. We're not necessarily prioritizing Johnson & Johnson to any particular group or vaccination provider at this point. We really want people to understand what Dr. Paul shared last week about the quality of all of the vaccines that are available in terms of keeping people from acute illness and hospitalization. So a little bit of vaccine data. So far, 34,466 vaccine doses administered by Madera County vaccine providers. That is to 21,461 individuals, representing 13.4% of the population. We are going to start shifting how we report. Right now, we've been really reporting numbers of what we've been administering. And we're going to shift to the numbers of Madera County residents because it's easier for us to pull that data. That's one reason in terms of the state system. But also, we just really feel like it's important for us to focus on how many Madera County residents have been vaccinated. Whether they get vaccinated in Fresno or other counties, we want to focus there. And of residents that have been vaccinated so far, Madera County Department of Public Health remains the primary vaccinator for Madera County residents. 69.5% of Madera County residents that have been vaccinated since the beginning of February, when we really shifted away from healthcare workers to general population. And that's followed by Camarena and Community Hospital, Madera Community Hospital at over 11% each of those. We know a lot of people have been interested in the data with regards to different populations that have been vaccinated, specifically our Hispanic Latino population. We just pulled that data, and right now it's still pretty skewed based on totals because the healthcare worker population is not necessarily representative demographically. So right now, of those who have been vaccinated, 33.6% of them are Hispanic or Latino. Running through the eligibility really quick, of course, healthcare workers, residents over 65, employees of educational institutions. There's been a lot of conversation about vaccinating teachers to get our schools open. And I'm happy to report in Madera County, we estimate about 6,500 individuals are eligible as employees of educational institutions. That's not just teachers, that's everyone, food service workers, bus drivers, aides, all of the people that are involved with making our schools run is about 6,500 people. And we've vaccinated so far 2,500 of those. Also happy to report that Valley Children's is working with us on plans about how to schedule more vaccination clinics for our teachers. And so we believe that we'll be able to move through that group pretty quickly. Child care workers are also eligible. We've received a list from the state, mostly includes phone numbers, so we're accessing the ability to do an auto dialer to reach directly out to that group. Emergency services are primarily government employees as well as vendors that serve emergency services. And we get a lot of questions about these. And I just want to emphasize the importance that as Department of Public Health staff are really inundated with questions, lots and lots of questions, emails, phone calls. If people want a very fast response, the best way that they can get a fast response is using our community feedback form. If they email one of our staff directly, they might not get a response because of the volume, how fast we can actually get to all of those individual emails. And then our food and ag group, which is of primary importance in Madera County. There's a very, very long list on that essential workforce list for food and ag, but it falls into 4 general categories. Food retail in all of its forms, from convenience stores to restaurants, fast food, anyone who's selling food or preparing it. Second group is agricultural production and support of agricultural production. Third group is farm workers, the people who are actually out picking and packing. And then food assistance programs, which are government or charitable kinds of food assistance. There are more groups that are being identified as eligible, lots of them. And the state is putting that into writing. There's been a lot of pushback from counties about expanding eligibility because the number of people eligible just does not line up with the amount of vaccine that's available, but it's coming. So in the next few days, they say by the end of this week, there are going to be additional groups that are identified in writing, and at that point, you all will be notified. We are expanding our ability to reach out to our food and ag, those who are eligible in food and ag, both from staffing and strategic planning on our side and reaching out directly to employers, but then also through a series of contracts with our community-based partners to really get out and help with education of our farming community about the vaccine and helping them get directly registered. In terms of the high-risk group, Dr. Paul wanted me to let you know that we're still getting between 10 and 20 applications or referrals from physicians per day, and about half of those are being approved and moving forward to vaccination. On March 15th, all of those with chronic conditions, which are identified by the state, will be eligible for vaccination. So that's going to be a big, big group, and the state is going to be providing us with specific instructions about how that's going to work. So in general, there are some updates to some guidance. Sorry for the long report. There's just a lot of stuff happening. There's continually more and more guidance that's coming out for sectors, and it's all being updated. with the context of vaccination kind of changing the landscape of things. So if people have questions about guidance, it can all be found at the state website, that's covid19.ca.gov. And we don't have a lot of them in writing yet, some of the updates that are happening, but there are general themes. The first is that those who are vaccinated will have more that they can do, but on a limited basis and in small groups. And they don't need to quarantine if they're exposed. And then the requirements for the tiers, they're talking about adjusting those. So adjusting the case rate that it would be required to move into the red, for instance. But they're looking at a trigger for that based on vaccination across the state. And they're currently talking about April 1st for that kind of adjustment. One of the other questions we're hearing a lot are people want to be able to visit their loved ones in skilled nursing facilities. And that guidance has been updated. Residents of skilled nursing facilities who are fully vaccinated, so it's been 2 weeks since they've either gotten their second dose or their Johnson & Johnson, either one, those can receive visitors indoors at the facility. We want to encourage people. There's a lot of questions about schools, and there's a great tool on the state school website. So you can go to that same covid19.ca.gov, type in schools, and there's a school portal. And there's actually a place in which parents can ask questions directly of the state for the concerns they have. And also schools can ask direct questions. So we're happy to field questions as well, but that's another way that they can get their questions answered. Last but not least, sports guidance. Everybody's been interested in the sports guidance. I think the most important thing to know about sports and the way that it's opening up is that the guidance is for organized sports, not for pickup games and things like that. It really needs to be structured because there are certain rules that need to be followed for safety. The sports that are allowed in each tier are listed right in the guidance. And it's not an exhaustive list, but it's pretty thorough. And then sports that are listed in red and orange tiers can be done, but it comes with a couple additional things that people need to do, including informed consent and regular testing of participants. Are there any questions I can answer?
I've got one when you can.
Oh, we have, okay, Supervisor Wheeler and then Supervisor Frazier.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Sarah. Did you say how many Johnson & Johnson vaccines we got? How many?
I did not, and I don't have it off the top of my head or in my notes, but I can email it to you.
Okay. I just wondering, because people have asked me about that, and I said, well, I haven't heard yet, so it's good to hear that we're getting some of them. So, because I don't know, some people just want a one shot, I guess. I don't know.
It is convenient.
And I just wanted to make a note. They made it really big last night on the news about it's almost virtually impossible to get the virus from any of the shots, all 3 shots. You are not going to ever get coronavirus from those shots. And I just want people to know that if they are listening in today. So I think that's really important because some people, these conspirators people that think that there's something going on, So keep up the great work. So.
Okay, Supervisor Frazier.
Speak to the sports aspect of it. I know there's talk of like a pilot program where the tests are administered by the school nurses on that weekly basis, and anything we can do in that to help take that off of public health and not having to come in, having it over there, I think would be a good thing. And I think that will help get our testing numbers up as well. I think it should be good for our numbers overall.
Mm-hmm.
So anything we can do with that, I'd like to push that forward as quickly as possible so that we can get these kids doing something other than playing sports on PlayStation 4.
Agreed.
Yeah, we need to run. Not saying from personal experience that we need to run these kids around a little bit so they can be more tired.
I do have an update about that.
Yeah.
So the schools, we have now COVID testing in our public health laboratory. We can do in a high volume. And we're looking at really rolling that out to support schools, skilled nursing facilities in general for exactly the reasons that you're talking about. So we're in conversations with the school districts that they can like swab and do that part of it with the school
And then
nurses.
it just gets
But
sent
we
in, yeah.
process it and it's a fast turnaround.
Yeah, and that's what I had heard, and it was exciting, it again, just shows that we're looking at ways to make things easier to open up at Madera County Public Health. I appreciated that. The skilled nursing facilities, you brought it up, my grandmother, 96, she was just at like all-time lows, and now after 2 weeks after her second vaccine, my uncle was able to come down and visit her for 45 minutes, and the change to her overall mental health was almost immediate, and so I'm glad to hear that. In terms of like vaccine clinics for some of these harder to reach, like with farmers or large food manufacturing, I know that there was a problem within the system that we can't set up special events like that to go out just for one area where it all just funnels into one. Has that been fixed in the system? Is there any way to do that? And how many individuals would it require to have like an on-site clinic like that to make sense?
So a remote clinic, really anything with 200 people or more, it would make sense from a logistics standpoint. And I don't think that that's hard to do.
No, it's not.
Not at all. We're looking at actually much higher volumes than that. So when I refer to our AgVax teams, we really pulled together a team of people that are looking at the data, employer data, contact, and really blitzing that community with where are the people located, with GIS mapped it and things like that to pull together what those clinics look like. And from a systems registration standpoint, that problem still exists, but we are going to roll forward using our current system and switch to MyTurn when it makes sense. MyTurn is the one that has limitations for that. But I think that we have beefed up our internal IT team as well to help us sort through those issues. So really it's a matter of that team rolling forward, and we expect that those clinics will be scheduled on an increasing basis over the next few weeks.
Okay, and let me know or anybody else know, because I've gotten a lot of calls from people that said, I'll bring all my employees, 200, 400, 500 employees all to one place one day and just get them all through. And so I think that's, if we don't take that, it's going to be harder to get those people on an individual basis versus where we have a pool. And then if everyone is doing it or feels like, that it's, I don't want to say required because we don't want to force anybody to do anything they don't want to do, but I think you'll get that more of a mass of people coming in at the same time and not having to do the education, but letting the farmers say, yeah, everybody come in today, you get your vaccine, and then it's done. So let me know.
We'll connect with you to get all of that information about those employers.
Yeah, I've got like 5, 6 of them that are
ready to go.
Ready to go.
Great.
Very
That's
good.
all?
Supervisor Rogers.
Yes, I'm aware of the opportunity to get your vaccine through like local pharmacies. When we give our account numbers, does it include those vaccines?
Yes.
Okay.
So we are reporting on when it's Madera County residents, yes. So when we're talking about allocations, then some pharmacies are on a federal program and others are getting allocated through the numbers that I talked about, but that's the Madera County allocation. But when we talk about who has been vaccinated, Madera County residents, then yes, anyone regardless of where they got the shot would be included in that. They're reporting to the state registry.
I understand that insurance pays for shots through the pharmacy. Insurance.
Yes, there's an administration fee. The cost of the vaccine is already covered, that no one is paying for the vaccine itself, but the administration cost is covered through insurance or Medi-Cal.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And Supervisor Gonzalez.
Yes, thank you. I think this is more of a J question, but when the guidance comes out and allows for more populations, different populations to get the vaccine, do we have a plan in place for our county employees? to have some flexible time to go get the vaccine?
In the past, we've already done that as it relates to testing if there's been a concern in a particular area. So as county employees qualify through the tier system, we will make that something that's available, probably department by department, just so that it doesn't get too crazy, or in halves of departments so they can maintain business operations when they have a significant number of employees that need to seek out the vaccination.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. And are there, if there's no other questions from the board, are there any members from the public who wish to add a comment or ask a question? Seeing none, thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you.
All right. We do have a public hearing and, or actually a public report, and that would be from our Madera County Groundwater Sustainability Agency, scheduled for 10:30. So we have Stephanie making her way up here. And then if it's okay, after Stephanie's report, I'd like to move to 6D, and that would be the item regarding the reunification of the Madera Department of Corrections, if it's okay with everybody. All right.
Yep.
Very good. All right, Stephanie.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Stephanie Agneson, Director of Water and Natural Resources. I just have 2 quick slides that we could project. First, we do have some really good news. The draft awards for Prop 68 were announced, and both the Madera and the Chowchilla subbasins were on there for awards of $4.2 million each, for $8.4 million total, all for recharge projects. So these are draft awards, but this is really good news. We would look ahead to that work starting as soon as we had a grant agreement executed, and that's probably sometime this year, later in the fall. But good news there.
Whoopee, whoopee, whoopee.
That's huge.
So draft awards rewarding our overdraft?
You are correct. That is what it is.
Great.
All right, moving on. We've had a series of meetings this month. Jeannie Hobbin, our Deputy Director, did a presentation statewide on integrated regional water management and SIGMA and how to integrate the two to over 320 people. That was in early February. The Madera Subbasin Work Group, which is all of the 7 GSAs and their representatives, met February 11th. Supervisor Frazier was our representative there. It seemed like a good meeting, not a lot of drama, considering it was the Madera Subbasin. Our water market is moving into year 2 of a simulation. We've spent a considerable amount of time kind of reaching out and making sure people understand how to use the spreadsheet tool or are okay not using it. But we are going to do some additional outreach to Madera Ag Water Association and the Cattlemen's Association regarding the water market. There was also an interbasin coordination meeting March 3rd. This was between the Delta Mendota, Merced, Chowchilla, and Madera subbasins with a set number of representatives to talk about what the key issues are. Those are typically what you would expect: subsidence and interbasin flows. So there was one meeting to sort of get to know people, and there will be some follow-up activity as well. The Chowchilla Subbasin Advisory Committee meets March 17th. Supervisor Rogers is our representative there. And then we are working on a workshop later this month that will talk through both our SALC, the Strategic Agricultural Land Conservation, in terms of land resting and retirement, as well as recharge. So that's kind of our key events from the past month and looking ahead a week. In terms of workload, Greg Young and I are working to develop the allocation, and we are going to present that both to you and in a workshop so that we can get a lot of feedback on that. I've spent a
great deal of time with the Bureau of Reclamation talking about our Central Valley Project contract and attempting to expand our place of use from Hidden Lakes to the rest of the white areas. There's a perceived overlap with some portions of Chowchilla Water District, so we've spent a lot of time with Chowchilla Water District talking about their boundaries and annexations and getting everybody on the same page with the Bureau. So I think that will go okay once we can iron out where everybody's boundaries are. I mentioned the water market simulations already. We've also spent the past month reading our annual reports that are due April 1st and talking to our rate consultant who is going to put these many pieces of costs together. And we're considering if there's a way to bring flood into that as well. As you know, all of the GSAs in the county have recharge projects. A lot of those recharge projects plan on using flood control facilities that the Flood Control Agency is charged with maintaining. That may be the nexus in order to bring more money for maintenance for our creeks and sloughs. So that concludes my report. I'd be glad to take your questions.
Supervisor Frazier.
Yeah, I just had a quick question on the water market simulations. So if something is historically grazing land or is in grazing land and they sell their water in the water market, would that mean that they would have to opt in to the as a irrigated ag acreage?
Yeah, that was, I think, 3 different questions. But so in the water market, the rules that we have now is that you need to have an equal amount of irrigated as unirrigated land. So that's kind of a rule that would come to you as a board. It's just a rule for playing the simulation right now. But you're absolutely right. If they're pooling their water as a farm unit, they would need to opt in.
So even the non-irrigated land would be pooled in and would have that per acre charge to be within the GSA, is that?
Potentially, yes.
Okay. Just wanted to, it
Well,
was just a thought that.
Yeah, and then keeping in mind, those are draft rules with the water market simulation, and they would come to you as a board in terms of what the allocation looks like.
Okay.
Very good. Stephanie, I have a question, and it is, are we going to be ready to roll as of 1/1/22 in regards to start the glide path? And is everybody going to be fully aware of the need to comply with the glide path and the, let's say, the challenges that they'll be presented with if there's non-compliance?
I'm going to say no. Not everybody is fully aware of that. Despite our best efforts, we've done, I think, 4 or 5 different mailings to the addresses that we have on record for all of the county GSA parcels. We're getting people enrolled in IRRA-Watch, but it is a significant process to go from having basically nothing to a functioning groundwater sustainability agency. And to your point about the allocation, I think that one of the decisions the board will have is how exactly to crank that down, right? Because you're going to be at year 2 at that point, and you're going to probably need a more significant percent in order to get to the 10% over 5 years goal.
Well, and actually we'll be starting year 3. Because it will, because we had 2020, we're in 2021, and we'll be starting year 3. And so, but I mean, if people are not responding and not complying, I mean, you know, getting on board and enrolling in a number of these projects, to me, that won't be an excuse in terms of saying, oh, we didn't know, we're not participating, this and that. I mean, they're going to have to be the same enticements to cooperate as there will be for those who don't. And we're going to have to figure that out, because we're going to, again, we've got a significant drought year this year. There's only, I guess studies have shown out of every 10 years, there's only 3 water years, good water years to do what we need to do. And, I think that we're going to have to be very assertive in our inducement for people to participate in this. And again, if people haven't signed up, we're going to have to figure out a way to get their attention and have the backbone to do it.
And Deputy County Counsel Mike Linden is working on the ordinance that has the penalties you saw last month.
Okay.
So that is part of the backbone, but Christina Beckstead's here as well. We are surprised by the number of people who either don't know about Sigma or kind of feign ignorance or who are busy with other things. So despite literally 5 to 10 years of outreach on it, it does remain for some people a surprise.
Well, I think it's more like they're pretending it's a surprise. It's not a surprise. And like I've made comments before, that if you're going to know about different farming methods, you're going to know about commodity prices, you're going to know about the cost of equipment, you're going to know about what you can apply and you can't apply in terms of your chemicals or fertilizations, and people are on top of all these things. You're going to know about your bees, you're going to know about all those things. And for somebody to say that they're not aware of Sigma, they're saying that they don't want to be aware of it, and it's like an ostrich, just put our head in the hole and pretend it's not happening. But we're going to have to show that it is happening, and I think that you're going to find all of a sudden people complying, But it's just, I just don't accept the thing about people not, they shouldn't be in farming if they don't know about it. It just shows an incredible lack of awareness.
I hear that.
Okay. Yeah. I understand.
I would say every week I get at least 1 or 2 phone calls from people who have never heard about it.
Unbelievable.
Oh gosh. Do they know what century we're in or something? What do they think? That President Carter, that guy needs to step up, Oh my goodness. Supervisor Rogers.
Yeah, I'm assuming the outreach, when you talk about outreach and what have you, is to the ag community parcels.
Yes.
We're not dealing with de minimis.
We are not dealing with de minimis users.
Yeah. And I was wondering, if it might be wise to have, like, the cities especially, do some kind of instructive. I know that they do have more control over the circumstance, but maybe some kind of instructive thing on how this is working, and you need to be contributors to that. But having the cities on board might help.
Okay. And we do have a water conservation class. We can reach out to them and kind of work with them to offer that.
That's what I was kind of thinking, it'd be really, really beneficial, because there's so much, I know in big cities like Los Angeles, they lose 100,000 gallons a year just due to leaky pipes. Or 100,000, not gallons, acre feet.
I was going to say,
acre
it's got to be more than that.
Gallons is nothing.
Yeah, no, they lose 100,000 acre feet a year due to leaky pipes. That's just unconscionable to me. They should be focused on that. That's a big deal.
They're just recharging their aquifer.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Well, thank you. Are there first of all, any other comments from supervisors? If not, we've got, I think, a few public comments.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. Christina Beckstead, Madera County Farm Bureau. So I just wanted to comment briefly on the shock that is faced by some of the Board of Supervisors in the lack of knowledge to some growers. I mean, unfortunately, and I think I've commented on this before, agriculture is bombarded with regulation on a regular basis. And for some growers, it's very difficult. It's becoming more and more difficult for them to continue with their operations because the cost just to comply with regulation is just increased significantly. So many growers, especially those that are smaller, unfortunately don't necessarily learn about things until it's a little too late, when they are actually forced to comply with whatever the regulation is. And a prime example of that is the irrigated lands program. Although we probably have 90% compliance within the East San Joaquin Water Quality Coalition, there is still that 10%, and that expands over primarily 3 counties, so Stanislaus, Merced, and Madera County, with a small portion out of Mariposa and a small portion out of Tuolumne. There are still people out there that have no idea about the program, and it's been in effect for about 10 years now. I mean, an actual required regulation status. We're rolling out CV salts now, as we're doing in the Chowchilla area, and although I've been talking about that now for almost 4 years, it is still a surprise to a lot of people. And as they're starting to get their notifications saying, hey, you have to pay this bill now as a condition of your farming, of your right to farm at this point, they're just kind of blown away by it. So unfortunately, it's just part of what is business at the end of the day, right? Whether it's agriculture or any other industry, you try to put off regulation as long as you can. And yeah, sometimes you try to hide your head in the sand because you're just trying to make a living. But when the time comes, they're worried and they do comply. But it does unfortunately take time. So although it is a surprise, and Stephanie and I are constantly baffled by it, we sit in meetings regularly and get phone calls on a regular basis from folks that just have no idea and they don't understand the impacts of it. So just my thoughts for this morning. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any comments from the public?
I just wanted to make one.
Mm-hmm.
Close public comment.
Not on public, but after public stream.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to compliment you on the 8.4 million. That's the second largest grant I've heard of for Madera County, I think, in its history. That's a big grant. And I've maintained through the last 20 years that the best hope for continued function and continued adequate water source is groundwater recharge. And been fighting for that since I've been on this board, and previous to that. I think I've mentioned that my dad was heavily involved in engineering recharge projects throughout California. That is kind of a family tradition, but I've known through that experience that recharge is our last and best hope. And if we can get people on board with that, it's going to be a big deal. And I'm so glad to see this grant. And like Rob said, I think we do have some people maybe that don't know, but I think there are some who are pushing the envelope right up to the last. There are guys that I know that are putting in new crops that know what's coming. I know them. They're not ignorant of this situation. They know what's coming. But until they get pushed up against the wall and say, you can't do this, they're not going to do it. I think there's some like that. And I don't think they're all like that, but I think there are some like that. And it'll correct itself, like you said. People aren't going to get away with it forever.
Very good. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 6D. This is the item regarding the reunification of Madera Department of Corrections and the Sheriff's Office.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Joel Bugay, Deputy CAO. Together with us today, Sheriff Tyson Pogue, Director of Corrections Manuel Perez, Under Sheriff Majeski, and Assistant Director Chris Rodriguez. The item before you seeks approval of 2 board resolutions. The first resolution, if adopted, will formally reunify the Department of Corrections as a division of the Madera County Sheriff's Office effective April 1, 2021. As Sheriff Pogue stated in his presentation to your board on February 9, this is the formal action necessary to implement the first phase of the reunification. The second resolution expresses the county's support for Assembly Bill 779, which was introduced last month by Assemblymember Frank Bigelow. AB 779 will add Madera County to the list of counties listed in Penal Code Section 830.1C, which authorizes peace officer status to correctional officers when on duty or when directed to perform other law enforcement duties during a local state of emergency. On a subsequent item, on April 6th, there will be an item to formally add the classification of the assistant sheriff to the sheriff's org, and that will take place after the reunification takes effect April 1st. With that, we're all available for any questions that your board or the public may have.
Very good. Looks like Supervisor Gonzalez.
No, just move to approve.
Second.
Any comments from the public? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Supervisor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier,
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers,
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler,
Yes.
Chairman Poitras.
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Very good. Thank you.
Finally.
Long time coming.
Whoopee, whoopee, whoopee.
Great presentation, all. Thank you for staying here for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Moving on to going back to item 6B. This is a discussion and consideration of approval to recommend nominees for appointment to the San Joaquin River Conservancy Governing Board.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the board. I'm Melissa De Silva, Chief of Staff to Supervisor Frazier. Our department, our district sent out letters to environmental organizations to fill this position on the San Joaquin River Conservancy Board in January with the deadline February 19th. We received 5 different agencies submitting names. We've got 6 names to submit to the governor's office with your board approval. I'm available for any questions.
Just quickly to speak to this, so before it would just go back and forth between this way, and then also it would then for 4 years would have to be someone who lived along the river or had a business along the river. When we sent to all APN numbers along the river. Out of all of those letters, 100 some, we would only get one. Yeah, we'd only get one back. There is current legislation, AB 559, that is going to do it where it can be like this all the time. That doesn't exclude the people that live along the river. They can still go forward, ask for or to be able to submit their name through this method as well. That then comes to us and then goes to the governor. But as some of you've seen, we had a 15-member board that was only 14 members, and we had some deadlocked 7-7 votes. So this will help us to get past that. So the last time we'd sent one, the governor wanted more names. Now we have 6 names. I think this is a much better method for us to do it. With that, I'll move to approve. Item 6B.
Second.
All right, thank you. Are there
Thank
any
you.
members of the public who wish to comment on this particular item? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Supervisor Frazier,
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler,
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers,
Yes.
Chairman Poitras.
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you. Item 6C, this is a discussion direction to gather input regarding amendments to Title IX regarding the discharge of firearms on the San Joaquin Riverfront.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Matt Traber, Chief of Development Services. I also have Jamie Bax, Deputy Director of Planning with me. This item is simply an item to seek direction from the board to proceed with an ordinance amendment dealing with the discharge of firearms. as laid out in the agenda item. We do have sort of a draft of that, but this would be the first hearing or workshop that we've had on it. It will go before the Planning Commission, obviously, before it comes back to you. And this is really an effort to look at and try to get out in front of an issue that we're seeing more and more of out along the San Joaquin River and along the Parkway as we see development occur not only in our county but also our neighboring counties to the south. And we want to see about trying to restrict the discharge and hunting below the high water mark of the San Joaquin River. So by restricting it just to that location allows a farmer or a ranch owner or a landowner to still hunt and discharge on his own personal private property, but it does restrict that public space. So we've had a number of complaints with individuals setting up deer stands on private property below that high water mark, and so it's become quite a bit of a nuisance. We've gotten a number of complaints, so just trying to address that and get out in front of this. And also a big aspect of this is making sure we're having a no camping ordinance along the San Joaquin River except for those designated areas where camping would be permitted. So with that, we'll open for any questions.
Very good.
I got one.
Yes. Supervisor
Me?
Wheeler. Yes.
Yeah, I talked to Matt last night too about this, and I looked at the backup, and it has string stuff, but for bow and arrows, but you need, I think, to identify a crossbow, write it in there, because these new crossbows now are just like a rifle. One of my buddies I hunt with, he killed 2 elk with them now the last 2 years, and he said I can shoot better with that than I do my rifle. And it's good they're good for like 100 yards, and they're silent, so people wouldn't hear them down there. So I think it should be, identified that it does say crossbows.
Okay. Very good.
They even have scopes for them now too. So.
Wow.
Are the boundaries of this?
Yes, Supervisor.
Are the boundaries of this identified clearly?
Yes, and it is there, but we'll also probably do a better job of also identifying them with a map the next time it's before you. But it's really from State Route 99 to Bryant Dam.
Right. You don't want to, give the idea it's the whole river, because there are people who do legitimate jump shooting, all kinds of things. So.
Yeah, which, again, we've drafted this and crafted this to allow those private individuals to still do that hunting and dove hunting and those things. It's where it comes into that public lands area. So, a landowner either has granted permission to those individuals out there hunting, or they're trespassing, in which case is not permitted.
Absolutely.
Supervisor Frazier.
Well,
go ahead.
So this is between the high water mark and low water mark. When do we have the ability to have an ordinance which would be on state lands? Right.
Yeah, that is certainly we're going to be looking and working towards that and working with our partners. Also going to be plugging in with the Conservancy, San Joaquin River Conservancy. So yeah, that is the goal, to make sure that we're just addressing those areas and making sure we're legal on that. As I said, this is kind of the first rolling out. We have looked at our city of Fresno County has similar ordinances that do address this, but certainly anything we bring forward to the board for action, we'll make sure is something that we legally have the ability to restrict and do.
And to Tom's point, there will still be other areas along and David's along the river that still have that. This is where there is supposed people down there not knowing about it for their protection as well. Is that
correct?
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
One more question.
Yes.
Yeah, I think at every road that goes down there, Matt, and even those trails that comes off of like Jones and McCaffrey's and stuff like that, I think we should have a signage put in there. I don't know if those homeowners would pay for those, but they really need signage, because that's the only way you're going to educate these people that do that. So
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you. If there's no other comments from supervisors, let's open it up to the public. Are there any comments from members of the public?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Board of Supervisors. Hank Griffin, I'm a resident of Madera County, and I also farm quite a bit of dirt along the San Joaquin River. I read the proposed language, but I was put at ease by the previous speaker that it does seem like there is an exemption for property owners within that area. So that takes care of that side of me, because I was nervous about, at least the language I read would certainly address the personal situation that I was dealing with along the river, but it smelled like it may curtail property owners' rights, which I have a problem with, and I'm assuming you guys would have a problem with. But that seems to be taken care of. So it also gets into the pest control side of the farming stuff, because I actually farm stuff that's within that area. So based on what I read, I wouldn't be able to kill a squirrel that eats my almonds. That would be difficult. On just a couple of issues, I was wondering, as you guys are putting that language together, is it possible to add something to the extent that says they use only, which that could help curtailing homeless issues, homeless encampments being put up there, trying to get ahead of this thing. It could also address hunting blinds and tree stands that's being put up there, to the extent where it would be difficult for law enforcement to get a hold of somebody that's violating the no discharge policy until he actually kills a deer. It would be easier if a guy leaves a tree stand overnight, for the ordinance then to allow Madera County Sheriff's Department to come in there and remove that tree stand. You know, and let's not wait until the guy kills a deer and then try and deal with it.
Right.
And then last but not least, if it's a day use only type of a addition, or you can't leave anything overnight, it will address issues like marijuana grows that I have personally found, I've personally destroyed. That way, at least, if I do find a place where a guy is servicing his marijuana grove, I can either remove it myself, or I can call law enforcement to come and remove it. So if it's a day use only type thing, and if you leave stuff overnight, Madera County can make it go away. That'd be fantastic. It will address all my concerns. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Are there any other members of the public who wish to make a comment on this item?
You won't be able to kill squirrels with crossbows anymore.
I don't think the Fish and Game Code allows you to do that. It's fun, though.
All right. It looks like we have somebody that,
John Shelton from,
yes.
Yes. So this is John Shelton with the San Joaquin River Conservancy, and I appreciate the item before this and this item and the discussion with Matt Trieber about working with us. We do, as you know, have issues with hunting and others. We have been working with the Department of Fish and Wildlife and their game wardens on several of these issues, and they are very interested in helping us with this problem. And definitely the whole idea of hunting, you can hunt as long as it's safe to hunt. And as we're getting more people down there, it's not safe to hunt. So the wardens can also get after folks who are shooting around residences, shooting around other commercial activities and things. I definitely understand, because I've been a hunter in the past and understand the need for having places that you can hunt. But I'm very willing to continue to work with the county staff on this and help develop this. So I think it's a good move forward.
Very good. Thank you, John. Any other members from the public wishing to comment? Seeing none or hearing none?
Does staff have enough direction, or do we need to provide direction in form of a motion, or?
I think it would be good if we could get, the formal direction to proceed with the ordinance amendment, and then we'll start a greater public outreach and planning commission action as well.
So I'd move that we move forward with this with Tom's idea of the maybe highline crossbows as well. Also, some of the input that we got today I thought was very good, to include some of that, or he's working with the members of the public to put in some of those things in terms of the day use as it relates to the no camping ordinance. I would probably think that it would be better for Madera County to be contacted regarding the marijuana grows, taking someone's marijuana grow. I don't know if they would care about the no use of discharge of firearms. So just to keep our public safe and not touching that, but having some form to remove that would be good. So
that's a long motion.
It's a long motion.
Yeah. Second.
But this is direction, right? I mean, the direction needs
all
to.
above.
Yeah.
You read that back to me.
Yeah. And I like to have all my ums in the ordinance too.
Okay, so there was, I think at the first part of that was the motion as
Mhm.
far as, and then we did get a second from Supervisor Wheeler. I heard that. And
Yep.
with that, we've already had comments from the public. Roll call vote.
Supervisor Frazier,
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler,
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers, Chairman Poitras.
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0. 5-0.
very good. Thank you. Looking forward.
Hi, John Shelton.
All right. So moving on to 6E, this is a discussion and consideration to adopt an ordinance amending sections regarding Madera County Code. Elba.
Good morning, Chairman Poitras. This is just a follow-up from last week, second reading of the chapters 5, 6, and 8 of the county ordinance.
Okay, very good. Any comments from supervisors? Any public comment? I'll accept a motion for action.
So moved.
We've
So
gone
moved.
all the.
Second.
Yeah, okay.
I was going to say, we've come all this way.
I can't do any more to move it faster, Rob.
We've had a motion and a second. Are there any comments from the public? I already asked for that, and no takers. Roll call vote.
Supervisor Frazier,
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler,
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers, Chairman Poitras.
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Very
Thank you
good.
so much.
Thank you. Moving on to item 8, any pending legislation?
Get my mask off here. So this is a follow-up to a request from, I think, January from Supervisor Gonzalez. She asked that staff begin to take a look at reviewing the legislative platform. We have started that discussion with Paul Yoder from SYASL, who represents the board in some legislative issues. And when we get a base document done, we'll be coming back to the board to get your input. Right now, we're converting the old one back from PDF form to Word form and just getting the basic boilerplate stuff in there. And we hope to have that back to you soon.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to supervisor and staff reports, and let's start with Supervisor Gonzalez.
Just that I was invited to participate in the National Association of Counties legislative conference. It's currently happening for the month of March, and it was free of charge to any new supervisor. So I'm taking advantage of that, and I'll be participating virtually throughout the month. So that's my report.
Excellent, thank you. And Supervisor Wheeler.
Yeah, just wanted to thank everybody that was on my speaker list at my town hall last Thursday. It was a great turnout, and Sheriff, I don't know, there was a whole bunch. So I just wanted to thank everybody, and thank Bobby McCauley, my chief of staff, for putting that together, and the job fair. We had about 20 companies that wanted to hire people, and we had probably 20 people get on it. I don't know. We're still trying to figure out how to get more people to get online for a job fair. So there's a lot of jobs out there. We just got to get it to the people. So thank you.
Right, thank you. Supervisor Frazier.
Valley Voice tomorrow, and then just wanted to report we had a great opening for the bid for the MD10A project. Just want to thank staff again for moving mountains.
Thank you. Supervisor Rogers.
RCRC tomorrow, and I wanted to thank staff for moving forward on the MD33 well. That's been a long time coming. Thank you for the hard work that's been put into that, Matt, and really, I know the community will really appreciate it. We need to put a blurb on Facebook about that.
You know, kind of speaking to the MD33 and the MD10A, you can see staff is having learned what has gone wrong in the past and applying new methods and how to move these projects forward. And they're getting better and better every single day, and we're starting to see project move forward. So
great results from great leadership.
Thank you. And in regards to my report, last week we had our first part of the San Joaquin Valley Policy Council, met with six legislators, and I think the reports went well. They definitely heard what our priorities were regarding transportation routes and air quality in the San Joaquin Valley. And as Supervisor Frazier mentioned, it concludes tomorrow with 3 other legislators. Chief Administrative Officer Varney.
So just to follow up on what Supervisor Frazier said, I just wanted to give a quick little shout out to Tristan Champ for working with Stephanie and all of her crew on those 2 grants that you've heard about earlier in your meeting. It seemed like the work there together was quite successful.
Thank you. And Council Garza.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a few items for the board that I've shared with CAO Varney. There are a couple Brown Act bills that will be passed along to Mr. Yoder to consider. One is AB 339 and AB 361. They relate to the ability for the public to participate virtually and telephonically in the future. And there's also at the federal level a bill related to immunities when it comes to law enforcement. So along with all the others that we're tracking, those are right on my radar. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much. And any report from the clerk of the board?
Nothing to report, thank you.
All right. Thank you. And with that, we will conclude our meeting today. And everybody go out there and make a difference. Take care. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.